Democrat Robin Kelly, an Illinois Congresswoman, filed articles of impeachment against Kristi Noem, Donald Trump's Homeland Security chief. 50 House Democrats signed on in support of her impeachment resolution. The impeachment articles accuse Kristi Noem of obstruction of Congress by not allowing House members to conduct on-site inspections of ICE facilities, despite a recent court order demanding she allow members of Congress to perform surprise visits without having to wait a week before being allowed in. Her policy is you have to give us 7 days notice so we can clean the place up. In the second article of impeachment, Noem is accused of violating the public trust by creating what Congresswoman Kelly calls a reign of terror in cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, Charlotte, and Minneapolis, which are all being targeted right now by ICE under the leadership of Greg Bovino, whose father killed a young woman after he got into his car drunk and crashed into her. Greg Bovino's father only served 1 year in jail for killing a young girl because he's white. That would be Border Commander Greg Bovino, who was accused by a federal judge last year of lying under oath while testifying on the use of force in Chicago. I actually owe Border Commander Greg Bovino an apology. As you can see from this picture, he's actually a lot taller than I thought. So look, that's Greg Bovino, Border Commander, and he can't change the fact that he's short. But what he can do is change how he deals with being a small man. Now, if you watch these ICE videos, there's a lot of body dysmorphia going on with Bovino and the men around him. A lot of these ICE agents are either morbidly obese or lacking in the height department. So these are incels, violent men who are involuntarily celibate, and that's why they can't wait to drag women out of their cars and pin them to the ground, because it's the only way they get to touch one. Look, I'm not thrilled with my body. I'm not good looking. So I learned to be a nice person. Turns out just being nice, being generous with your heart, maybe taking a shower occasionally, brushing my teeth, something America's ICE agents seem to have never learned. You know, all of that sometimes might get you laid. But if you're like Greg Bovino and these ICE agents and your penis doesn't work, it's not about getting laid. It isn't about getting laid because it doesn't work. I look at Greg Bovino and I know what makes him angry. He's not angry that women see him as half a man. What makes Greg Bovino furious is that if a woman did say yes to him, he couldn't perform. He exudes impotence. Again, it's no crime to be a wee bit of a man baby like Greg Bovino. There isn't a man in America who likes the way he looks. But it's how people respond to the cards they're dealt. It's how people like Greg Bovino, a wee bit of a man, responds to being a baby, little man baby. I've watched the videos of the protesters in Minneapolis calling him short. He doesn't like it. He does not like being called short. So if you're a protester and you see Greg Bovino, please do not call him short. I've watched these Minnesota protesters, especially the women, calling the ICE agents short. Don't do that. It hurts their feelings. That's why they're ICE agents. Body dysmorphia. They don't like the way they look. You don't want to hurt an ICE agent's feelings. Look at this POS. Greg Bovino. Let's get another picture of him. Look at him. He's about 4'6" in heels. He spikes his hair. Look at that. Because he foolishly thinks spiking his hair with gel adds a few inches. Bovino's so stupid he probably thinks he can add a few inches down below by spiking his pubic hair too. That's not the way it works, Greg Bovino. I am not making this up about Greg Bovino. This is the truth. I tell you the truth here, okay? Greg Bovino's father, you can Google this. Greg Bovino's father got behind the wheel of a car drunk and killed a young girl, but he only did 1 year in prison for manslaughter because he's white. This is true. Google it. Greg Bovino's father is a murderer, and this is also true. I don't make stuff up. Google this. This is also true. Greg Bovino only joined Border Patrol because he didn't meet the height requirement for the Pop Guild. Okay? I don't make stuff up on this show. Here's another true fact. If you own a slaughterhouse in, say, Chicago or Minnesota, border czar Tom Homan will call off an ICE raid if you let him spend 20 minutes alone with your prettiest pig because he misses his wife and daughter. Wait, I'm not done. On Friday, Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem designated her dermatologist, Dr. Maurice Feldman, a domestic terrorist. Some things I do for myself. Remember people who used to draw mustaches when we were really young? We would draw mustaches on Raquel Welch. Well, I've gotten better at it. That's not AI, that's Photoshop, by the way. And I spent hours prepping each boil on Kristi Noem's face, adding each hair meticulously. That's what Kristi Noem looks like without 6 hours of hair and makeup each morning. Anyway, the third article of impeachment accuses Noem of self-dealing using Department of Homeland Security funds to award contracts to her friends. On November 14th of last year, Justin Elliott, Joshua Kaplan, and Alex Majeski reported in ProPublica that the Department of Homeland Security has spent close to $220 million producing commercials of Kristi Noem in front of Mount Rushmore, dressed in a cowboy hat and wearing cowboy chaps, warning immigrants to self-deport. $220 million of your dollars on this advertising campaign. Have you seen any of them? I watched 3 seconds and I wanted to self-deport. Those commercials, according to ProPublica, were produced by outside contractors, including one owned by Ben Yoho, the husband of Tricia McLaughlin, the official spokesperson for Homeland Security. Tricia McLaughlin, the official spokesperson for Homeland Security, her married name is Yoho, which works out perfect because that's how Donald Trump greets Tricia McLaughlin whenever he sees her. Yo-ho! Anyway, bidding for government contracts by law must be competitive. But Kristi Noem, according to ProPublica, waived that law by citing a national emergency so she could give Ben Yoho a piece of the $220 million Department of Homeland Security advertising pie without having to bid on the project. So what is that national emergency justifying Kristi Noem suspending competitive bids for a DHS advertising contract? Yoho wants his money, bitch. He wants his money. That would be Ben Yoho, husband of Tricia. The ICE agent had no choice but to discharge his weapon once the suspect weaponized their vehicle. McLaughlin, that's her full name. Tricia, the ICE agent, had no choice but to discharge his weapon once the suspect weaponized their vehicle. McLaughlin. She is the official spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, and she is a liar. Whenever an ICE agent discharges their weapon, she automatically says it was in self-defense after the suspect's vehicle had been weaponized, even if the suspect wasn't near a car. Appearing on television last week, McLaughlin, or Ms. Yoho, said last week that thanks to one big beautiful bill, Homeland Security will now require all ICE officers to wear body cams. Kristi Noem and I were having a drink last night. This is a picture. I took this photograph of Kristi Noem. We had a drink. She's dating Corey Lewandowski, who's he's not handsy. He's kind of fisty. You know about Corey Lewandowski. That's her boyfriend, and he has a history of violence with women and trying to get Kristi to break up with Corey Lewandowski. You're married. You're a good Christian woman. Anyway, so thanks to one big beautiful bill, they can now afford to give body cams to all the ICE agents. Well, Kristi Noem said the money was already there, but one big beautiful bill allocated several $1 billion for hair and makeup. You don't want ICE agents with body cams if you can't have hair and makeup standing by for them, because occasionally, the body cam is on and they shoot each other. with their body cams. They shoot each other with their body cams. They shoot us with their guns, but each other with the body cam. Remember Jonathan Ross? He is the ICE agent who reportedly killed Renee Good. Well, he was not wearing a body cam at the time of the murder, but he was recording the event with his cell phone where he captured someone, presumably himself, muttering effing bitch after he put 4 holes into her. He's just an ICE agent performing his job. That's the job of an ICE agent, to put 4 holes in a woman and allegedly, as she lay dying, say effing bitch. That's the job of an ICE agent. Now, here's what I don't understand about this Jonathan Ross, if he is, in fact, the shooter. So from what I'm reading, he's this ICE agent. He was able to do this. He held a cell phone in one hand, a gun in the other. He fired his gun 4 times, killing an innocent woman, while at the same time with his other hand filming it with his cell phone. He's back on the job, no fine, no investigation. One hand is a cell phone, another hand a gun. But if I'm sitting at a red light checking email on my iPhone, $300 fine.